The National Executive Council meetings of the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, held on Tuesday, 26th day of September 2023. The National Executive Council's NEC of Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, in their various meetings, they analyzed the current situation in the country, taking into account the extensive hardship and the deprivations afflicting our citizens across all of the Federation, unanimously condemned the apparent trust lethargy and badness in handling the consequences of each price hike on Nigerians. The councils deliberated on the continued refusal of the government to engage in a meaningful and constructive dialogue in the ambit of good faith, given the 21 days waiting and the subsequent successful 2 days nationwide strike on the 5th and 6th of September, and other meetings that were supposed to demonstrate the preparedness of the Nigerian workers to push through the decision to embark on an indefinite nationwide strike if their demands were not met. To this end, the NTUC NEC in session observed that as there is no disagreement between labor and government, the existence of mass suffering, impoverishment, and hunger in the country as a result of the hike in the price of petrol, which demands an urgent need for real action. The government has totally abdicated this responsibility and has shown gross willingness to act, abandoning Nigerian people and workers to excruciating poverty and affliction. The federal government has continued to grandstand and follow all avenues for dialogue with organizers on ways to save Nigeria from the huge hunger and suffering experienced across the nation as a result of the unconscionable hike in the price of petroleum by the government. The government has continued to demonstrate not just an unwillingness to mitigate the massive hardship in the country, but also a complete lack of intention to take positive steps. Empathy for the multidimensionally impoverished citizens of Nigeria. The federal government has therefore not met in any substantial way the demands of the Nigerian workers and the people as previously canvassed in our mutually agreed roadmap to salvaging the economy and protecting workers and Nigerians from monumental hardship. The grace periods given by the two labor centers have expired. Trade unions continue to face severe threats from the state, the brutal and suppressive power of the police and government. The National Union of Road Transport Workers continues to be illegally fired by government, the instrumentality of the police, who have cloned the leadership of the NURTW. The Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria continues to illegally occupied by the Lagos State government in total disregard to the courts and that the state within life of the ultimatum by the police has caused loss of lives and properties with total injuries on Nigerians who were on their way to go back to their union national parents in Abuja. That the state has continued to blackmail and sponsor serious kind of calumny, especially one by the child of petition called Mercury, who the ex reject against trade unions. Leaders in the social media is buying and coercive instead of making effort to lift the burden on the masses.
Consequently, the NLC and TUC resolved as follows. 1. To, in the spirit of the Independence Day celebration, and to demonstrate our resolve for a truly independent Nigeria, to take our destinies in our own hands, rescue our nation. 2. To embark on indefinite and total shutdown of the nation, beginning on 0 hours, Tuesday, the 3rd day of October 2023. 3. To direct all workers in Nigeria to withdraw their services from their respective bases, commencing from the 3rd of October 2023. 4. to all affiliates and state councils to immediately mobilizing accordingly for action to organize street protests and rally until government responds positively to our demands. 5, to enjoin all Nigerians to join hands across the nation to assist this government put the people back at the center of its policies program. Signed, Comrade Ajeru, President NLC, Comrade Sosifo, President T. Thank you so much, gentlemen of the press.
There is victory for all.
This is Morning Crossfire.
Well, why they say the strike is a notable one, I want to follow through and to see how it all plays out at the end of the day. Let me start off by also quickly sharing with you what the new governor of the central bank, Yemi Cardoso, had to say with regards to service and that did. It was before the Senate yesterday, and here are some of the things he freely spoke about before being asked. Let's take a quick listen to those things now.
This is Morning Crossfire.
I do not take lightly the confidence that has been reposed in me through this nomination. I would also like to use this opportunity to recognize the Senate representing Lagos State, Senator Tokes Abiru, Senator Asiu Eshilokun, and Senator Adebuli for their kind support and encouragement, as well as extend thanks to the government and people of Lagos. Let me respectfully introduce myself. I am Yemi Cardoso. I was born 10th July 1957. I'm an indigene of Lagos State. I'm to parents of Brazilian descent in Popo Aguda. I attended primary school at Corona School, Ikoyi, and I went on to do my secondary school in Gregory's College. I then went on further studies to Birmingham. I attended the University of Aston, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in managerial administrative studies, specializing in finance and acting. My further education was at the Harvard Kennedy School, where I earned a master's degree in public administration, and I specialized in. I also degree in business administration from alma mater Aston University. My professional career began in the vibrant city of London, working in a collaboration with international organizations such as the World Bank, the Ford Foundation, UN Habitat became a hallmark of this phase in my journey. From 2010 to 2022, I had the privilege of serving as chairman of Citibank, where I dedicated myself to enhancing both the financial and financial aspects of the institution. A highlight of my tenure was championing diversity and gender inclusion, resulting in a remarkable increase in the representation of men on the board from a mere % to an improved 50%. In September 2022, and I'll conclude with this, some months after stepping down as chairman of Citibank, I was given the Citibank Global Annuity. This was the first time such an award had been given to anybody in Sahara Africa, in recognition of for outstanding contributions to and society over the course of a distinguished career within Nigeria's private, public, and not-for-profit sectors, as well as academia, and for fostering the country's financial stability and development. May I please now say a few words what I consider to be a preliminary assessment of the challenges facing the Central Bank of Nigeria. We hopefully commence the process of giving input into this very important very important entity. The President, in his inaugural address, conveyed the need to clean up the CBN's monetary policies. As a first step in this task, the President appointed a special investigator in the affairs of CBN, whose work is currently under. Permit me, Mr. President, to use these preliminary remarks to outline the challenges facing the central bank, introduce high-level proposals to address reform challenges, and discuss of a refocused central bank in supporting the economic agenda of the President Tinubu administration. What are the current challenges the Central Bank of Nigeria faces? They are numerous. In assessing these challenges, the Central Bank of Nigeria, preliminary questions are being raised on how these challenges may be addressed, and I think that is what we are interested in. One, we identify issue of corporate governance, and how will issues of corporate governance be addressed. We also identify the diminished institutional autonomy. How can public and financial system stakeholders' confidence be restored in the autonomy and integrity of CBN? Can the central bank look to adopting a worldwide for institutional autonomy? We also look at the need to refocus CBN back to its core functions. What needs to be placed to revert to evidence-based monetary policies? Discontinuation of unorthodox monetary policies and foreign currency management. Unorthodox use of ways and means spending.
This is Morning Crossfire.
Well, we did come break. Some of the solutions he thinks would work will share. Stay with us. This is Morning Crossfire. Right here on Nigeria Info.
New shows, new host, new realities, true conversations, worthy ideas, and passionately on your.
Nothing breaks news like the news. Trust me, I can break it. I do it every morning on Morning Crossfire from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Nigeria Info 95.1. I am Femi D. Join the biggest conversation around the national politics every day in a way that is trustworthy, full of passion, and yes, covers the biggest politics and the stories that matter to you. See, you have all the reasons to find out what's going on in Nigeria and get differently. Let's talk. That's the way to go, even this morning.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
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 This is Nigeria Evening.
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 I would put it that way. Fiscal monetary policy, pretty much it's going and getting it right, and part of it and the release lie on the shoulder of Oluyemi Cardoso, the CBN governor. Dr. Cardoso will take on the affairs soon enough, but he has a sight on where we are in terms of the economic status of Nigeria and where we should be going. It's more insight into this. Take a listen to this.
This is Morning Fire.
Our feeling is that in identifying the important issues with economic growth, we believe very strong that size matters. Size matters. The economic policy proposals of the administration identify a set of fiscal reforms and growth targets that will achieve $1 trillion GDP within 8 years. In reviewing selected growth targets that achieve $1 trillion GDP, in reviewing select brand mint countries with large populations and similar development characteristics as Nigeria, it is interesting to identify macroeconomic indices that point to Nigeria's economic trajectory, given faithful implementation of proposed economic reforms. In economies big than $1 trillion, the indices include modest inflation, size of foreign reserves, and capacity to quickly rebound from cyclical economic downturns. In other words, the extent that the administration has defined such a bold target for the country, it is our feeling that achieving it is very critical to achieve the stability that we require in various economic indices. It's not the only thing, but it is very important. So we believe this is the right way to go, and we end this. A refocused CBN will better serve the country through monetary policy interventions and advisory roles that sustain implementation of the additional fiscal proposals. Advisory role of CBN of past CBN into development financing, such that lines between monetary policy and fiscal intervention have become blurred. In refocusing CBN to its mandate, there is need to put CBN back from direct development finance interventions into more limited advisory roles that support. These advisory roles could include, for instance, 1, act catalysts in propagation of specialized institutions and financial products that support emerging sectors of the economy, facilitate new regulatory frameworks to unlock capital, to consumer credit, to masses. Have come up continuously, and I'll yield the floor to my colleagues to chip in on others. The questions I want to talk about is the issue of my person and whether my approach to handling the activities of the central bank, if so needed. I'll also like to say a few things about one particular topic that has come up repeatedly in different forms, and of course that is exchange rate. And then also would like to say something about a thing that has also come up repeatedly, which is inflation, the high costs. Okay. Now, in terms of the person you're considering for nomination to the position of governor of the bank, I want to emphasize that this is all I know, in the sense that my calling has been a calling of banking. My calling has been a calling of dealing with institutions that have a calling of compliance. And so not only even in government, when I was the Commissioner for Economic Planning Budget, I had a reputation doing things properly. I'm not about to compromise that reputation or anything. So if any doubts about that, I want you to dispel your minds of it. I am absolutely prepared, and I have no intention of compromising that. Then, on the issue of foreign exchange rate, which everybody's been talking about, and naturally is very worrisome to everybody, very worrisome. It goes without saying, quite frankly, that for the sort of country we want, we do need an exchange rate that is stable. For a country that we all dream of, we need to have an exchange rate that. And frankly, there are short and medium measures, but I would say something about the short-term measures, because that really is what bothers most people today, understandably. The medium-term measures have to do with balance of payments and over a period of time, sort of things that have been done with, and I think they continue because they take time. So I think we should take that as a. The more immediate is what we need to look at. And my sense is that there are two very important issues that we would have to address when and if we are nominated by these chambers. Number one is that of what I would term an operational issue. Right now, you have a situation where, and we all know this, we can argue the figures, the numbers, but where that there are obligations in the central bank. We are aware there are settled obligations. Whether it's billion, 5 billion, 7 billion, I don't know. But definitely the immediate priority will be able to verify the authenticity and the extent of what is going on.
This is Morning Fire.
All right, what's the news? CBN governor, no, and the likes of that, yes, would lead the team. And for those who follow carefully, you'll have listened to his extensive background in finance industry, and he has extensive in various public sector offices abroad, and is an institution man. He was former chairman of Citibank, by the way, in case you didn't know. I also served as commissioner for Lagos State's Ministry of Economic Plan and Budgeting. Okay, that makes up the things that they days. But just to end the show, let me listen to some few things you have to say. Okay? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Dr. Femi. Dear Amelia, how are you? How are your lovely pals?
Very well. They're doing good.
This is Abokar Kwale, the happy Idilimo. So you
Thank
and
you.
all your colleagues,
Yes, sir.
The legendary Nigeria info station, our dearest radio station, a media empire, will continue to expand your set.
Amen.
It's fortunate. We are celebrating the day of the prophet of mercy, prophet of Islam. But some people are doing great injustice and disservice to the Islam. Boko Haram saying that Leah Sharibu had been remarried. When married, there is no in that instance. If they imagine want to marry, have to enjoy the rental consent as a consent. And if a lady has separation in marriage, she became the, if she want to remarry, Islam grant her freedom. She can remarry on her personal recognition. There is no personal, and she was converted to Islam against her wish. There is no component religion. That is what the Quran says.
Okay.
I don't know. They adopt their kind of doctrine and teachings of Islam. They are not. They are ignorant Islam followers.
All right.
May God guide our content.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning to you.
That's a very good morning.
Yes. Good morning, dear sir.
Yes, I'm calling for Sumeja.
All right. What can I say quickly?
For me, the situation we have now, I think the things are not it's not what Nigeria needs now. The economic situation, everybody know what is going on in this country. The idea you have in it, the idea you have in security, apply it the way let Nigeria see it. That is what Nigeria is now at this moment. Can I also react on the
Okay, just quickly, please.
Okay. I think Labour, I don't think that they are serious. The Labour, they are not serious. They cannot just come and be deployed to us on the radio to see the action. Whatever action, that is what Nigeria needs now. Security, economy is going wrong in this country, and then Nigeria needs. That is what Nigeria needs at this moment. We don't need globe to last, we need not peace.
Okay.
Very much.
Thank you. Okay, here are the messages I do have. Femi D, good morning. If you have a child who has always been stubborn, I will not take your instructions. The best way to treat such a child is to floor punish him, sir. Now this tweet about the labor strike. Good morning, bless you, sir. Ayodele Abayomi, that's in. I do have a message. Femi writes in, is listening via the app from Loganbro. I hope I pronounced this, but UK. He says, I want to comment on the new CBN governor. Our leaders appointed or said or elected seem to understand problems and solutions before entering office. But once they get what they want, they will be politically correct rather than do what will benefit the mass. Good morning, dear Mike. Labour Party is different from Labour Union and TUC. I'm sure all the NLC and TUC members are not members of the party. They have their own political aims and leanings across all Nigeria political parties. So there is no need to champion more their sentiments and hate against Labour Party just because of the emerging waves of Peter Carey's daring. Somehow, when you explain Labour and Labour Party appears to have fundamental agenda upon which myopically dwelled on. Generally, if anyone is nature will surely hate person. No, all right. Well, I'm starting explaining things there. Let's show the team from the goat. She's a one-man mopo, but she's there barracks. And her name is Comfort, and she's with me. Good morning.
This is a sponsored program.
This is Nigeria Info.